time to join us today for the Bold Ideas Disrupting the Status Quo Reimagining Student Leadership session. During this event, we will collectively reflect on the last 6 years of student-led programming at Calumet and Stong Colleges and its impacts on students, staff, alumni, and faculty. This will be an important opportunity for us to share ideas about the future and how we can continue to be bold. My name is Emery, and I am a second-year global health student specializing in health policy management and systems. I am also the social media and marketing director for GHSA, and within Calumet and Stong Colleges, I work as the community development coordinator. I will be your MC for today. We also have Parman here, who is my co-MC and panelist. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, Parman.
Thank you, Emery. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Parmin. My pronouns are she and her, and I am currently completing my 4th year of studies in kinesiology and health science. With Calumet and Stong Colleges, I currently work as a leadership coach, which is a work study position. I am also one of the peer mentoring coordinators with the Kinesiology and Health Science Student Organization, also known as CASO. And I'm also one of the co-founders of an Agents of Change project named the Undergraduate Health Research Exploration, or UHRE.
Thank you, Parman, for your introduction. Just some housekeeping before we get started. To turn on subtitles, click CC Live Transcript button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. To get a better view of the slides and presenters, go to the very top of your window, click View Options, and then click Side-by-Side mode. Before we move on to today's agenda, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional Indigenous territories where the York University campus resides. Welcome. As we are all not gathered in the same space, we recognize that this land acknowledgement might not be for the territory that you are currently on. We ask that if this is the case, you take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on and the current treaty holders. We recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. The significance of giving land acknowledgements is essential, showing recognition of and respect to Indigenous peoples and their traditional or ancestral territories, which are essential elements of establishing healthy reciprocal relations. It is also the way forward in the step towards reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. York University recognizes that many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tkaronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge the land with us. We are now going to go through what we will be learning in today's session. We will start out the session with examining the meaning of what is disrupting the status quo, reimagining student leadership. We will discuss the historical context of Calumet and Stong Colleges. We will introduce our panelists, followed by a panel discussion. Then we will open up the Zoom floor for a Q&A with the audience. We will end the session with final thoughts. Disrupting the status quo, reimagining student leadership highlights the lessons learned, challenges, and future directions gained from the past 6 years of student leadership and student-led programs at Calumet and Stong Colleges and the Faculty of Health. The panelists will consist of faculty, staff, alumni, fellows, and peer leaders, past and present, who will share firsthand their leadership experiences. Let's get started. To start us off, Dr. Mazen Hamadeh and Dr. Janine Rawana will provide us with a brief historical context of Calumet and Stong Colleges. Dr. Hamadeh is the Associate Dean for Students in the Faculty of Health, a faculty member in the School of Kinesiology and Health Science. He is the former head of Stong College and is dedicated to supporting students succeed academically as researchers and as leaders. Dr. Rawana became the head of Calumet College in July 2015. She has a PhD in clinical psychology and is a faculty member in the Department of Psychology. Along with her students, she conducts research on emotion regulation among young people and aims to understand what strategies can help young people navigate life's challenges effectively. Dr. Hamadeh and Dr. Rawana, in the past 6 years, could you briefly share Calumet and Stong College's journey and share your own personal learning moments or lessons?
Thank you, Emery, and thank you everyone for attending today. It's a privilege to be here and share our experience. Janine, would you like to begin, and then I'll take over from there, or would you like me to start?
I could begin briefly, and then we can go over the rest of the slides. So this little banter between Mazen and I is one of the things I've learned significantly throughout working at the colleges is shared leadership. So when Mazen and I both joined, we were both faculty members, really didn't know each other too well, but in a fairly short period of time had to come together and collectively have a shared vision. And Mazen had a lot more experience in the colleges than I had experienced in different things. But that's, to me, one of my own personal journeys. It's been a pleasure and a joy to work alongside Mazen and see him move now to the Associate Dean role, but also to have a collective shared vision that I think we both have tried and hopefully successfully really built Calumet and Stong around our peer leaders. So I think in terms of challenging the status quo, we try to empower students through our work study positions, through our student organization executive positions, through our peer leaders, our course reps. You'll get a chance to meet many of them here today, to really try and empower them with our staff, to let them be leading our programs and let them be saying, this is what Calumet and Stong need. This is how the program should be implemented. Constantly seeking feedback from them. And it's been a joy. I think during the past 6 years, it's been really nice to see the Faculty of Health embrace the colleges more and recognize the work that is being done by our staff and peer leaders, as well as build stronger connections with our 5 and 6 in terms of neuroscience units, and really build a reputation of shared leadership and student success. Best practices with the university and beyond. We're also presenting at conferences. So that's a brief overview in terms of some of my initial thoughts. I'll pass to Mazen, and then we'll share some of the highlights for the past 6 years.
Thank you, Janine. In addition to what Janine just shared with you, I would like to also say that I think our focus was on the grassroots, meaning that any program or initiative or event was based on the feedback by students, on the demand by students. And we just ensured that the environment and the resources, the tools were present so that we can move forward with these ideas. So students inspired us, students motivated us, students reminded us, and students were the focus of these events all throughout the transition and the evolution that both Calumet and Stong Colleges underwent in the last 6 years. In addition to the programming that we will cover shortly, the programming that took place over the last 6 years, also the personal evolution that took place personally was actually welcome. Students were the focus, and students were the inspiration and the motivation for me to listen, to think, to consider, and to, as a team, take action, all of us, and then move forward. I think perhaps we can now share the screen. Janine, would you like to share the screen, or would you like me to share? Here you go. And if you can move on to the next slide. Excellent. If you don't mind clicking on a couple of times so that we can move forward and give you only the big picture highlights, would be wonderful. Thank you very much. So here you can see we put in a very easy way to follow the evolution of Calumet and Stong Colleges, what existed at that time, and then the evolution over the last 6 years. When Janine and I joined Calumet and Stong Colleges as the respective heads of Calumet and Stong Colleges, we initiated a strategic plan in consultation with partners within Calumet and Stong Colleges, within Faculty of Health, and within York, students, peer leaders, staff, faculty, fellows, and alumni, and also our partners outside of York University. And you can see the evolution. Over the years, we piloted different initiatives and programs, and then they evolved and expanded based on the very valuable feedback from students and staff and faculty and our peer leaders. In 2005, we initiated the peer tutoring within Kinesiology Health Science Student Organization, or CASO. We also had initiated the graduate peer mentoring program, and we had our funding for the Pan Am Indigenous events. In 2016, a bit more took place. We expanded York Orientation Day to include nursing students. We established or initiated the Orientation Express, which is a make-up orientation session for those students who missed York Orientation Day. We also instituted the student welcome events the first term of the year, of their first year. We also piloted peer mentoring, also within CASO, and then we established the Writing Coaches program, and the Health and Wellness program, and the Career Exploration program. Of course, we also started having student clubs whose mandates aligned with our strategic plan and priorities to affiliate with Calumet and or Stong Colleges. In 2017, we expanded the peer mentoring program to all units based on the feedback and the experience that we've had with CASO. We also established the course representative program and also expanded peer tutoring program to all Faculty of Health units. At that time, we also created the Zen Zone, which is now the Wellness Lounge, where students can take a break and focus and meditate, be with their thoughts, etc., or pray, or do yoga to rejuvenate for the rest of the day. We also established the leadership training and development, or what we call now is leadership exploration and development, or LEAD. We also started initiating the nursing practicum, where nursing students started to do their placements within Calumet and Stong Colleges as part of the Health and Wellness program. And we actually initiated our Indigenous Circle program. And for the first time, we combined the Faculty of Health and the Calumet and Stong College award ceremonies together. And we started initiating the program evaluation initiatives to look at all our programs and their effectiveness. I'll pass it on to Janine to continue with that particular evolution.
Thank you, Mazen. So in 2018, so that was the second year of our implemented strategic plan, we expanded the course rep program to include second year courses. So beyond the focusing on the transition of students in, working closely with our student organizations, we matched peer mentoring to all incoming students, and PASS expanded, particularly PASS peer tutoring and course reps into our summer. And we had a very good uptake in the summer programming. And we also started to work more closely with our student organizations to lend some guidance based on our strat planning to help them do some strat planning as well. Because to think about what will UPSA or CASO or GHSA or the other student organizations look like and be doing in the years to come, not just year to year. Health and wellness significantly took off, so really supporting students in response to different challenges that students have around anxiety and stress of coming into post-secondary education. And the Stong JCR rental started and finished a few years later. career conversation events. So looking at more events that hear that respond to our students in terms of wanting more advice around careers and different options for them for different programs. And also expanding our community building events. So whether that's our arts events, creative arts workshops, other things that we do to really have that traditional role of colleges highlighted in terms of coming together in community and doing fun things together. And there was also our first teaching and focus presentation here at York. So really highlighting peer leadership and the different programming innovations that our community is doing. And then in 2019, some of the ones to highlight, well, it was the pandemic. So one of the bigger ones that we did was make a very conscious decision to work strategically fairly early on to make all of our programming online. And again, this is another opportunity today to reflect on some of the successes and challenges we've had, but very appreciative of all of our staff and peer leaders to work very hard. So not only are they doing courses online, but they're spending more time online with us to continue the programming. And that's been very successful. So we restructured our programs to fit the online environment. We expanded our student club embedded programming. So really to work with them to make sure that they're doing our leadership programming, they're engaging in our health and wellness. Indigenous Circle actually had one of the larger uptakes of students over the pandemic. So it was nice to see renewed interest in that, as well as our some funding that we got through the Catalyst grant, which was the financial wellness. I'm sure Simi will mention a little bit later, as well as the AIF to do emerging leadership training. And Stong's 50th anniversary happened just before the pandemic took place. They were able to celebrate in a large event. And then looking back more recently, we have now embarked on emerging leadership training. So that's a training opportunity for incoming students to really fine tune and increase their success as they join York. Financial literacy, animated videos. There's nice to see our community partners here today and Harry, who's participating in the panel. So that was a really exciting project to improve the financial wellness of incoming students and high school students, and an opportunity to revise our strategic plan. We continue to look at new ways to do research. So in terms of ethics, we had our 50th anniversary for Calumet online, and have also expanded our mentoring to go to more to a group format to fit some of the needs of incoming students, and have also expanded our course rep program to across all years for students. So very appreciative of the hard work of people. And then lastly, over the past year, more recently, have done more teaching and focused presentations. We've extended PASS for global health and health studies, global health. We've also done a new award for our work study students, a new award for our alumni. We've been able to give that out to the people who've been recognized for those roles. And we've also had some of our team members, Cynthia and her team, do a presentation at the National Conference of Students in Transition. And we've also been working with the university to align with the SDG goals, particularly around our Agents of Change program, and also been looking at training and supporting our ExecU, which is a leadership training program for our student organization presidents and executive members. So this is just a highlight. Yes, thank you, Jody. Appreciate the feedback, but it takes a village. So the village is represented here in different partners, including faculty. So we cannot express enough how much we are appreciative of faculty who engage with us and support our programming and support our peer leaders.
Janine, you might maybe want to add a few things that perhaps the previous slide didn't have. Perhaps also remind them, because we don't want to take power away from what Abdul actually achieved in the last year. Agents of Change aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Goals. And also, we have already started some initiatives this particular year. First of all, we established a network of Calumet College and Stong College student clubs and councils. So there's an error in the, there's a typo, it's a CCSC, Student Club and Councils. And we also are in the process of piloting the trainer program with student counseling, health and well-being, so we can embed it within the health and wellness and create that particular level of independence within Calumet and Stong Colleges, so that our peer leaders can indeed mount some workshops and address some of the student concerns over the long period. And this came out actually of the strategic plan 2020-2025 consultation, and that took place last year with students, peer leaders, staff, faculty, alum, fellows, and community members. We also, this year, for the first time, we also engaged in co-transitioning or co-orienting international students with York International, specifically our students within the Faculty of Health. And we are collaborating with the Office of the Associate Dean for Students on a new initiative, which hopefully it will be focused on supporting and intervening early enough in the students' journey at York University, when the first term of their first year at York University, to support them academically and ensure their success over the years. We can move forward to the next slide. Parmin, can you please share your screen?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hamadeh and Dr. Rawana, for your insightful words. It was definitely interesting to hear about Calumet and Stong College's journey. So before we get started with the panel portion, I would like to briefly introduce our panelists by alphabetical order. Rupkatha Basu is a recent psychology graduate and currently works as an intake coordinator at Etobicoke Psychological Services. Rupkatha was involved in the colleges from 2018 to 2021 in several roles, both voluntary and work study. In 2020, Rupkatha applied to the Agents of Change program along with a classmate and started their own mental health initiative at York called Illuminate Conference, which aims to help students deal with the mental health challenges most relevant to university life. Bree Darbo is the co-president and graduate student representative of Black Students in Psychology and a doctoral student representative for the Clinical Neuropsychology program. She is a PhD and MBA candidate, neuropsychological assistant, psychometrist, and therapist, and cognitive neuroscience researcher. Cynthia Goodfellow is the administrative and event coordinator for the colleges since 2016. She has 3 degrees from York, undergraduate degrees in biology and psychology, and an MBA with specializations in health, nonprofit, and strategic management. She also has a certificate in human resources. In her career at York, Cynthia advised students in the Faculty of Health, Faculty of Science, the Faculty of Arts, now known as LAPS, and was the petitions coordinator in the Faculty of Health. Dr. Jody Martin joined York as an assistant professor in the psychology department in 2019. In her role as an instructor of statistics and research method courses, Dr. Martin has worked closely with Calumet College and particularly with the PASS program. She is also a staunch supporter of the course representative program and generally admires everything the college does to promote a positive student experience and student success. Abdul K. Mohammed joined the CCSC team in July 2018. He is a graduate from the psychology program at York and has prior experience working with CCSC in supporting their peer tutoring and mentoring programs. He was also a former executive member of the Undergraduate Psychology Students Association. Hari Chand Pillai. Hari is an Emory CI high school student collaborator for the Financial Wellness Project. Hari created lesson plans to go alongside the videos created and helped with the project from a high school student's perspective. Clayton Rhodes earned his honors Bachelor of Arts undergraduate degree from York University with a major in psychology. He then completed his Master of Arts in Education from the University of Phoenix. Clayton Rhodes has been a full-time faculty with Durham College since 2006. As an alumni member, Clayton has been thrilled to participate in many York University alumni student connection opportunities, such as Career Matters, Lead With Us, Career Spotlight webinar, Career Compass, Take a Student to Eat, Speed Networking with Psychology Alumni, Alumni Career Stories, and Calumet College Award and Bursaries at Adjudication Committee. In 2021, Clayton was proud to receive the Calumet College's Amethyst Purpose Award for Influential Leadership. Simi Sahota was the project lead of the Financial Wellness Project and is currently the secretarial support for the graduate program of psychology. Simi was active in the colleges from 2018 to 2021 in such roles as past leader and leadership coach. The roles in the colleges allowed Simi to help students academically and support them through their leadership journey, which led to working collaboratively through a community-based project. Agata Stipka joined the student success team in 2014. Prior to this role, Agata worked in the Faculty of Health's Dean's Office at the University of Toronto and University of Victoria. Agata is passionate about student success and fostering community within the colleges. If you have worked with Agata, you have probably heard her say that relationships matter. Bailey Tepperman is one of our student success coordinators. After completing her Master's of Education in Adults, Community, and Higher Education, Bailey joined York and the CCSC team in July of 2019. She supports a number of student success programs and finds inspiration in working with a team of staff, faculty, peer leaders, and students that are also passionate about student success. We also have Parman, who is also a panelist, and we welcome to all of our panelists. We will now start with the Q&A portion of our event. So the first question is addressed to Parman, Rupkatha, and Hari. Tell us about your time being involved at Calumet College and/or Stong College, and how was it meaningful for you? Let's start off with Parman, followed by Rupkatha, and then Hari.
For sure. Thank you so much, Emery. So I would say in terms of my involvement with the colleges, I wasn't the student to get involved since first year. And I would say, during that first year, it was kind of like a transition process for me. I wasn't necessarily sure exactly what I want to accomplish. However, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to start my involvement with CCSC in the second term of my second year as a course representative. And throughout my involvements with the colleges, my experience has been nothing but rewarding and, nothing but rewarding and enjoyable. And there has been something new to learn every day. And, if I were to go back, I would definitely make that extra effort to really start my engagement since, first year, because I believe, if I did have that involvement then, I may have been able to, really utilize all the mentorship, all the support that the colleges really provide. And, throughout my experience, I feel truly honored and truly privileged to have had the chance of working with amazing student leaders, people that are like-minded or have similar mentalities to myself, but also at the same time to learn about all different perspectives and see how we can really work as a community towards not only developing ourselves as individuals, but also helping everyone else by sharing our expertise and also learning from everyone else. So throughout my experience, I truly feel privileged to not only have provided the support to fellow students and staff members myself, but also to continue learning and continue developing into a better version of myself.
So I just remembered I actually started as a course rep in 2017 and not in 2018. I was just in first year and completely clueless. Course rep really helped me learn about all the different resources that the colleges had to offer because I was presenting on those myself. And I guess as a student, you're not always aware of your own needs because there's so much going on and you're just figuring things out. And really learning about these resources can actually help you identify that, oh, I had that experience during my time at the colleges. I later volunteered at York Orientation Day, and that helped me develop my public speaking and interpersonal skills. And throughout my years in different roles, I just built this wonderful sense of community and belonging with both the colleges, the faculty, and York. And I have been able to build relationships that I will maintain today, as well as learn different valuable professional skills that I have been able to apply to my career. So I would definitely advise every student, if you're not already involved with the colleges, it's like your little home within the large York, and it really helps you situate yourself and find yourself in university. And I would highly recommend everybody get involved, and really it helps you find your purpose, I guess.
Hi, my name is Gary. I was a grade 11 student. I am a grade 11 student at Emory Collegiate Institute. So yeah, I'm a high school student. So I was involved with York University because of the Financial Wellness Project. I created lesson plans to go along with the videos that you guys created so that we could juice more educational value out of the videos and kind of like just make it more educational. So I believe that the videos and lesson plans and the financial project in general has like a huge potential to really help high school students, because personally, I don't think we get a lot of that in high school. So having this like entertaining way to learn more about finances and financial literacy through videos and lesson plans, I feel like that would be a great idea. So that's exactly why this project is so important to me, because to be a part of something that I truly believe would be a huge game changer is just like really significant, right? Like, oh, it's my lesson plans that are going to be a part of this great project that could potentially like impact high school students one day. So and not only that, this project as a high school student, being able to say that you worked with York University is a huge accomplishment, right? So this project also opened many other opportunities or doors for me. I even got to work as an assistant. I even got to work as a teaching assistant at a summer school because of this project. So I'm really thankful and really grateful for this project.
Thank you for your responses. I totally agree with everybody and their sentiments on Calumet and Stong Colleges and how it does feel like a community within York. So let's move on to question number 2, that is addressed to Jody, Clayton, and Simi. How have your experiences with Calumet and or Stong College contributed to your professional and or personal lives? What are some skills you have developed during your time at the colleges that you were able to transfer after your graduation and or to your professional career? So Jody, would you like to go first, and then Clayton, and then Simi?
Sure, thank you, Emery. So as was mentioned in my introduction, the primary way that I've engaged with Calumet College primarily is through PASS. So I teach statistics every year, and this is a course that I'm sure many of you students here can attest to is quite challenging for a good number of our students. And even if the content's not challenging, it's a lot of work, it's fast-paced, and it's very easy to fall behind. And so I remember first coming here, and I actually did teach prior to coming back as a full-time faculty, and I had no idea what this PASS thing was, but I did have a PASS leader in my course, and it was just wonderful. It was from that very first experience, I got to see how students were far more willing at times to ask for help and admit they didn't know something to the PASS leader during sessions, rather than to me, because they felt, well, I can't speak for what they felt, but they might have felt intimidated or uncomfortable with approaching me and admitting to not knowing something. And so I think something that's very beautiful to me that I've learned is really the power of peer-to-peer learning. And I want to give a shout out to Rupkatha. Rupkatha was one of my past leaders last year, and literally she was called out in my course evaluations as being one of the best things that was part of the course. Every year I have several comments in those course evaluations that are really highlighting how great it was to have a past leader in the class, to have someone else that was able to re-review material with the students in addition to what they were getting through class. And I think that became especially important in the past year and a half throughout the pandemic, where it really did help to create within our course even this additional small community, actually kind of large at times in the sessions, particularly in my summer courses. And so how did this impact me professionally? I'm not sure that I necessarily learned a new skill through observing this, but as I said, it definitely helped me to understand that it's important to include options for peer-to-peer learning. And so it's actually changed the way I approach my course design. And so now anytime I'm about to teach a new course or revamp a course for, say, an online mode of delivery suddenly in a couple of days, I am considering how can I get students to be talking to each other? How can I get them to support one another and build opportunities for them to sort of learn and grow and share with one another? And so I think that's really impacted me. And I just want to say thank you to the colleges and every past leader I've ever had and ever will have for everything that you end up bringing to these courses. I feel like I cannot thank you enough, and nor can my students. So thank you.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you, Emery. So my experience with Calumet and Stong contributed to my professional and personal life, and somewhat of the skills I developed during my time at the colleges that helped me transfer into my professional career. I guess I could really sum it up in one word, and that would be confidence. Working with the colleges and specifically with the psychology program built confidence in me that I did carry over into both my personal and professional life. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of the story because the actual one's quite long, but essentially, in a nutshell, during my first 3 years as an undergrad at York, I was able to completely dodge any course that had any type of oral presentation component to it until I got to my 4th year when I was taking a class in psychology therapies, and there was a group presentation component that was a part of it. And I thought, well, I was part of a group, but doing a presentation might not be so bad if I'm with a bunch of other people. Well, throughout the academic year, my group members dropped out of the course and left me alone to do this presentation. So I went to my professor, Dr. Anne-Marie Wall, and did what any student would do at that time and asked to bail out. And I didn't want to do a presentation. I couldn't even remember the last one I did in high school. And to her credit, she said no. And I'm so thankful to this day she said no, because I did an entire 1-hour presentation on primal scream therapy because we didn't want the textbook therapies, we wanted something different. And I survived. I got through the presentation. And after that, I realized, you know what, the sun still comes up the next day. And because Professor Wall said no, because she had me still go through with the presentation, I gained an enormous amount of confidence in terms of myself and my presentation skills. And ultimately that led me to my career at Durham College. I probably would not be at Durham College if I didn't do that presentation that day. So for me, the skills and my experiences with colleges and the psychology program really ultimately boils down to the confidence, the opportunity to make mistakes, to do a presentation, and that's carried with me since my years since I graduated from York. So thank you.
Thanks, Clayton. I was gonna say confidence too. Thanks for stealing that. But no, besides confidence, like for me, I started off as a past leader, and then I became a leadership coach, and then the leader of the Financial Wellness Project. So I learned a lot about like public speaking, how to interact with others, and that all built my confidence too. Also leading a team and just like enjoying that creativity because we built like animations and all that kind of stuff. But one thing for sure, when it comes to both the professional and personal, I learned how to work independently. For me, like besides just working at the graduate office of psychology, I'm also trying to start my own business. And you require a lot of self-discipline when starting your own business, that's for sure. But also like when it comes to my personal life, it's also building that trust with people. And that's exactly what Calumet and Stong did. They actually taught me that because of the autonomous support that I got throughout the way, like with Agatha, Mazen, and Janine. I just learned how to work independently, but also trust other people when it comes to their judgment, their own perspectives, and so on. And because of working in groups a lot and leading projects and stuff, one skill that I could definitely say that I learned was resiliency, for sure. Because you're going to have your ups and downs, especially like when you're starting something on your own or with other people. There's going to be things that you're going to have certain plans, and then things are not going to go according to plan. You're going to go through some battles, and then the thing that helps the most is just getting back up again, because you know things are just not going to go according to the way you planned it. And also with the financial wellness project, I had like so many ideas. I had like one way of going through things, and then all of a sudden there's like hurdles along the way. Either like members, they dropped out, or there were some ideas that just didn't work, but you kind of just have to go with the flow. And yeah, just learn how to do that. So that's one thing for sure.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I could definitely see how some of these skills are kind of transferable to your work or personal lives. So on to the next question. Parman, during your role with Calumet and Stong Colleges, what do you think were some of the more significant successes experienced within your area of involvement or in the programming?
Thank you for that question, Emery. So as I mentioned, I got involved with the colleges mainly beginning in my second year, which actually was at the same time that we were hit by the pandemic. So I would say one of the most significant accomplishments that we had was the ability to keep our services accessible and, even increase our outreach using the online platform, which was something that, when you initially think about it, you're like, oh, there's no in-person interactions. But at the same time, I believe that specifically within the areas that I was involved in, such as the course representative program, as well as the peer mentoring program at the moment, we were really able to increase our outreach and perhaps reach out to the students that we normally wouldn't have been able to do so if things were in person, or it would have been harder to do so. Another area of accomplishment that I personally experienced was the ability to also really partake in the advocacy piece and really use that as a way to improve the community even more. So one initiative that I co-founded this year was the Undergraduate Health Research Exploration, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, which is funded by the Agents of Change program. And essentially with this program, we're hoping to make the whole process of undergraduate research position acquisition more smooth, specifically for students who may have been disadvantaged because of various reasons. And I think, really on a personal level, gaining the confidence to partake in that advocacy, and also, being able to utilize the resources that we have at the colleges, such as the Agents of Change program, to really, make this advocacy into a reality, were some of the biggest milestones or accomplishments that I would say I was able to, or I was fortunate to see within the commitments that I've had at the colleges.
I totally agree with how the Calumet and Stong Colleges have been able to make this programming so much more accessible. So thank you for that. This question will be addressed to Bree, Hari, and Jody. In the next 6 years, what do you want to see differently, and what do you hope Calumet and Stong Colleges continue to do? Let's start with Bree, and then Hari, and then Jody.
Awesome, thank you. So I'll start off by saying that I think it's easy for things to seem really ambiguous and overwhelming during undergrad when people are basically figuring out what they want to be when they grow up. And it's not always so clear as to what you need to do to get to that point based on just a quick Google search. So with that being said, what I would like to see change and improve on in the next 6 years is something that I think the colleges have really allotted a significant amount of effort towards in recent years. And it's this idea of greater integration across different levels of training. So I'd like to see different people from different levels of training interacting with each other in mentorship roles. And I think there's been a lot of work done in this regard in recent years. So there's the peer mentoring initiative that's been mentioned. There's also the Black Students Mentorship Program, and there's a psychology undergraduate mentoring program. And I believe that Stong Colleges have a similar arrangement. But what I'd like is for that to continue, for this momentum to continue to grow, creating spaces where people from different backgrounds and different levels of training can interact and connect with each other and build on those connections offline can be an extremely invaluable addition to any educational system. And I think that the colleges have done a great job of incorporating that into the Faculty of Health thus far. I found that for myself in the many years that I've spent at York, the most wisdom that I've derived about trajectories and about opportunities for the future were from people that already had the experience, from people that were at higher levels than me, who I could create bonds with, that I feel comfortable asking questions in an offline setting outside of formal context where I wouldn't feel as comfortable to be candid. Those were extremely valuable relationships that really helped me to shape my path and understand what was next. So I'd like us to expand on that, maybe expand our reach and engage the alumni a bit more so that we have that industry professional piece in the mentorship initiatives. But as I said, I feel like the momentum has been great so far, and I really do hope that the momentum just keeps increasing in this regard. Thank you.
So from a high school student perspective, there may be Calumet or Stong College programs that high school students can participate in to learn more about certain university programs or to get involved. So, so as a student, these are extremely helpful because they kind of tell us which kind of path we want to choose for post-secondary. So hopefully these programs are continued in the future. And I hope in the future that York University and specifically Stong and Calumet colleges can keep providing more and more high school students like opportunities like the one I got, because I know that they open many doors and it's a huge like confidence booster. And finally, I hope that York University can maintain its or Stong and Calumet colleges can maintain its relationship with Emory Collegiate Institute and other high schools so that more students can get opportunities like the one I got. Yeah.
So along the same lines as what Bree and Harriet said, like over the next 6 years, I just want more of this. You know, you folks have done an incredible amount of work. And like, I thought that before getting here and then seeing that slide that Mazen and Janine went over and realizing I knew half of what you've been doing. So can we actually all just take a minute and give everyone at Calumet a round of applause and some celebrations? You folks have done amazing things in 6 years. Like 6 years is not that long. It's really not that long, particularly in a university setting for anyone who has spent a lot of time in a university. Things don't really happen very quickly here. So if I can start with the continue to do's, let's keep doing this, right? Let's keep innovating for our students. Let's keep making sure that we're offering these amazing programs and services that our students need and can benefit from. And let's keep teaching students to be leaders for one another and themselves. Like, let's just keep doing this. Let's keep moving forward this way. This is exciting. I kind of wanted you folks to start filling out all of us together the rest of those years on that second slide. This is very inspirational. And then with this same sort of, like the flip side of that, of course, is to reflect on this idea that you're doing so much, and I consider myself a rather involved and engaged faculty member, and I had no idea what was happening, the extent of what was going on. And so honestly, the one thing that I'd like to see changed is for there to be more engagement. And I don't think that's on you folks, right? I would love to see more than a couple of faculty members showing up to celebrating Stong and Calumet. I would love to see more than a couple of faculty members knowing what's happening at Stong and Calumet. I'd love to see more students here. So I think that honestly, that's the only thing that I would consider needing to change at this point. It's just, this stuff is very important. All of this work is exceptionally, it's pivotal to York's impact for our programs, and we can do better. And by we, I'm excluding Calumet and Stong now, and I'm talking about other faculty, I'm talking about other students, not the ones who are doing the leading, but I think the rest of us could stand to lead a little bit more with you and to partner a bit better. But again, thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Calumet and Stong Colleges has been doing an amazing job and will continue doing an amazing job in the next 6 years. So let's move on to the next question. Simi, what advice would you give to current or incoming community members of Calumet and Stong Colleges, whether they be students, staff, faculty, alumni, or fellows? Also, if Abdul would also like to go, you could also go after Simi.
Thanks, Emory. Every time I say your name or someone says your name, I trip out because we worked with Emory Collegiate Institute, so I get so confused. But yeah, so I would say one piece of advice, I guess it's within the question, it's community. Like, don't forget that we're a community. Like, everybody has something to share. Everybody has their own perspective. And I think that's a beautiful thing about a community like this. Like, shout out to Harry, Kay's in the room as well, Farwa as well, Maria, you too, for like creating the financial wellness project. Without everybody's perspectives and experiences and their own skill set too, like Kay was an amazing video editor. She taught me along the way, even though like my title was project lead, it didn't really feel like that because we were all at the same level. And I think that's exactly what Calumet and Stong did, like with Maz and Janine. I never felt like you guys were above me. I felt like we were all together as a team. And even with Agatha too, working with you, like it was just amazing. So I think anytime you're doing something, like whatever, like if it's a new project or a new role, just don't forget that this is a community and everybody has something to share. And I guess the other piece of advice I would also have is, I feel like everybody can identify a problem so easily. Like we can name like 1 billion problems right now. Like if we go bold ideas, let's just talk about problems all day instead. But I think only so few people actually identify a solution to those problems. And that's exactly what the Financial Wellness Project was about too. And other things that I did along the way, but it was about identifying some kind of solution. We knew, okay, there's a financial problem going on here. How can we add value? So I think if you do that and remember that we have a whole support system here, you could do really anything here at Calumet and Stong.
I'd like to add to Simi's point, or build upon Simi's point about really doing anything within Calumet and Stong. And I think my biggest advice for students would be, or incoming students, faculty, or staff would be to stay curious and try out your craziest ideas. Because I think in the colleges, you'll notice a lot of the different events, a lot of different things we offer are very unique. And I'll give a story or an example with speed painting. I think the first time I heard that we're going to do speed painting, and I'm like, speed painting? This is a faculty in health. What are we doing with painting over here? And then the second thought was immediately, you know what, that actually makes kind of a lot of sense. I think it could relate to a lot of students. And I remember the project lead working with the heads, Madison specifically, and the ideas were bubbling. And with that, it went off into speed baking, which to me, to this day, is still like, how is this? How do you speed bake? That's still, that's wild. And then improv workshops, there's calligraphy, clay modeling. There's so many different ways to express your ideas. And I think just trying out different things within the Calumet and Stong Colleges, our team members, Agatha, Bailey, Cynthia, Janine, and Mazen, they would spend countless hours with students, you know, giving them feedback, working with them on their ideas, and really allowing them to build something, allow them to fail, allow them to continue trying and build something, and really testing out anything that they'd like to explore. And I know with different Agents of Change projects, the Financial Wellness Project, and others are great examples. So for those incoming individuals, really, I would really get them to get involved, really try out what you're interested in, and stay curious. And I'll pass it back to Emma.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely see how teamwork is definitely a big thing in Calumet and Stong Colleges. So on to the next question. Clayton, Rupkatha, and Bailey, in your opinion, what is / are Calumet and Stong College's most impactful strengths, and how can we build on these strengths to help our community members?
Thanks so much. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks so much, Emery. That's a great question. So for me as an alumni member, and I look from the outside at Stong and Calumet in terms of their most impactful strengths, I think specifically it is their commitment to student success. And not just student success in the academic sense, but then post-graduation. So many students, especially psych students and Kin students, so many people graduate with those degrees. And I think there can be a feeling sometimes from not only the media, but family and friends, and they say, well, what are you going to do with your degree? You can't do anything with that. Thousands of people have those types of degrees. And when Janine and Mazen have a Career Matters night, or there's a chance to talk with alumni who work in particular fields, it's really an opportunity to help students succeed post-graduation. And for me, I think that's really the most impactful strength that the Stong and Calumet have. It's looking out for their students, not only while they're here at York, but after their time at York as well. And I think my feeling is that in a few years, because of these initiatives, we're going to find more alumni coming back who are recent graduates and will continue to come back for many years and help other students succeed going forward. So that for me is, I think, the most impactful strength that Stong and Calumet has.
Am I going next?
Yes.
I guess the biggest strength, completely echoing Clayton's sentiments, is just that how you always put students first and how open they are to ideas and innovation. Like when I was a student, like I always had like a bunch of questions, a bunch of ideas, and there was always someone at the colleges like sitting down with me like, okay, let's see how we can make this happen. Let's see how we can make this into a good experience, or maybe develop a program for students. So the colleges really make you feel heard, and they're doing discussions, focus groups, forums, anything to like get more ideas. I remember when I was working with Bailey in the peer mentoring program, and we were identifying like all these areas of improvement, and brainstormed like, okay, how can we help students? And then we went online overnight, and like immediately, like the colleges left no stones unturned to ensure that we continue to provide our support programs, and the students felt supported in this extreme time of change. And that really sticks with you. It builds loyalty, it builds confidence. It makes us feel like there's always going to be someone there to help us, and we're never alone. And as Clayton mentioned, that's how you get these amazing alumni who bring back, keep contributing, and students and cohorts. So I would say that is definitely the biggest strength.
Thanks for that, Rupkatha. I definitely remember that. All the brainstorming we did and the quick switch online. Definitely good memories. Not to sound like a broken record, but I do think that our biggest strength is that we're student-led. You know, Jody spoke earlier about the power that she's seen of peer-to-peer learning in her classroom, but I think it also applies to leadership as well. all of our student success programming, from PASS to peer tutoring and peer mentoring and course reps and health and wellness and agents of change and career exploration and orientation, everything is student led, whether it's led by the work study students or our volunteer peer leaders, but it's always students that are at the forefront. We've heard from some of our peer leaders today, like Simi and Rupkatha and Parmeen, how being involved with Calumet and Stong have helped them build their confidence and empower them to take on further roles and responsibilities and opportunities. But I think that our student leaders also foster that same sense of empowerment and confidence in the students who are accessing our programs. So I think that being student-led strengthens our community by supporting the ideas and the initiatives of our peer leaders, like Simi with the Financial Wellness Project, like Parmeen with the Undergraduate Health Research Exploration Project, and Rupkatha with the Luminate Conference, right? These are all projects that have been created by the students themselves and have greatly contributed to the student experience and continue to bring together and inspire the student body and encourage students and staff and faculty and alumni and community members to get involved.
Also, big shout out to Abdul. Like, without you and all that, your last minute help, like, we have achieved any of that we did with Luminate and everything else. So thank you.
Thank you for all of your responses, insightful responses too. Thank you everyone for participating on today's Bold Ideas panel, and thank you for everyone for everyone's wonderful insights. Now let's hear from the audience. Does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask our panelists? Feel free to share them in the chat or raise your hand to ask via microphone.
I have a comment, not a question. Is that okay? Okay. I wanted to say this was wonderful. I wanted to say that I've been I'm a returning student, as some of you know. I had been here like five years ago, 6 years ago. I had to leave and I just came back. And I have to say, I don't know if this existed 5 years ago, but I wish that if it did, I wish that I knew about it. This is incredible to have a university and colleges that actually empower students to be leaders and to take care of each other. And so I just wanted to say that it's really touching my heart. I think it's really wonderful. So I just want to say thank you for everybody.
Thanks, Amanda, for that question or answer.
I may ask a question.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a question for actually Agatha first. Agatha, you have been part of the Calumet and Stong Colleges for the longest amongst all of us, if we do not include Rob. But let's assume you have been here for the longest. And you seem to have been great support, the lead. You have taken initiatives and built programs and evolved programs and interacted with peer leaders. Is there any learning moments? It seems that we were learning from you. Did you learn anything? Because it seems to me that we were always learning from you. I hope that in the last 6 years, we were able to maybe add to your knowledge. Is there anything you would like to share regarding any learning moment in the last 6 years?
I was hoping not to speak today, Mazen. but thank you. Certainly he put me on the spot. I think absolutely. I think that's why I love the university. I think the university allows for continuous learning, and not only from certainly my colleagues who have always pushed boundaries in a very, very good way, pushed the status quo, did things that sometimes as a staff member, I would be resistant to, with Mazen and Janine saying, oh, no, I'm not going online and doing X, Y, Z. I still remember that time when we were transitioning to the online environment. And I'm sort of wrapping my head about, oh my goodness, how are you going to transition to in-person? The online environment, you know, had certainly a lot of challenges, but so many successes. So to not repeat everything that Bailey has said, because I think she articulated so nicely in terms of the strengths of the colleges. But I have I'm continuously learning from my colleagues and my students, the students that I work with. I think even on those days when you're tired, if there's any parents out there during remote work and during the days when your children were at home with you trying to learn, it was certainly challenging, but I think the students, you know, they pushed you. And I wanted to ensure that I was there for the students that I'm working with. So I think some of the learnings, if I could put into a few sentences, I think one of the thoughts is patience. I think any kind of change takes patience and commitment and dedication. And we've seen that so much from Mazen and Janine over the years, right? And in addition to teaching and their research, they really made the colleges a priority. Not only the students, but the staff that they were working with. They were at our meetings, they were contributing to our programs and how the programs will evolve, or providing that sort of critical perspective in a very, very good way, because they would question, right? Like, this is being rolled out to students, you're working with faculty, how is this going to make sense? So I certainly appreciated that. I think the other thing about over the years, what I've observed is leadership does matter, right? Like, not only from students, but also from colleagues and faculty. When you have people who are dedicated, who care, things again could move forward in a very seamless way, sometimes with a lot of resistance, and you have to keep persevering. But it goes back to my first point around patience. But leadership matters. And I think people who care about students and who care about student life, it's a wonderful, wonderful environment. It provides a lot of meaning, I think, and purpose in your day-to-day, despite everything else that might be going on in your outside world. So I'm always learning, Mazen, and I think that's why, again, I love the university, because it allows you to learn. And I'll also pick on Cynthia, my colleague, who I'm sure maybe has been just as long as the university as me, or maybe a little bit longer. If she has any thoughts about what she has learned in the colleges, because I know she worked at many different units.
Thank you, Agatha, for putting me on the spot. That's quite fun. It's funny, as you were talking, you know, one of the things, a couple of things that came up for me were definitely the idea of student leadership, and the fact that we, you know, continue to promote that and support that. And that's very important for me. And actually, you know, any decision that I make in terms of what we do and you know, the programming and suggestions that I make, comes down to what's in the best interest of our students, and what gaps do we see, and what's going on. I also want to, you know, talk about just working at the colleges in general. And to be quite honest, I have worked in different offices across the university, across different faculties. And one comment that was made to me once when I was leaving a position was, you know, we hate to see you go. It's been great working with you, but we won't miss all of your ideas. And I loved coming to the colleges and being able to just pitch ideas and say to other people who are like-minded, saying, what about this? What can we do here? How could we change this? And that doesn't mean that every idea is a brilliant idea, or that every idea comes to fruition, but having that ability or feeling that I have that ability to come to Mazen and Janine, to Rob, to the other staff members and say, hey, I see a gap. Let's figure this out. What can we do here? And I hope that we model that for our students and that they can bring things forward to us. And certainly when I'm working with the clubs and when I'm working with, the work study students and saying, bring forward your ideas. Tell me where that gap is. Tell me what you see, what you like, what you don't like. And maybe we can't fix it today or change it in the, in the next hour, but we can certainly work towards that and build that. And that for me is exciting. And that makes me want to, keep working and keep coming back every day. So I do thank the staff and I thank our students for allowing us to do that and be creative every day. And that would be the big thing for me.
Thank you for your answers and for that question, Mazen. If anybody else has any questions and would like to go, now's your chance.
I guess I have a quick question. So when you think about the world today and being in a pandemic, I get a lot of hope from student leaders because I see how passionate they are. So I'm very hopeful for the future because I see on a daily basis what they're doing. But I guess what can we do? Like, the world that you're living in, right? And I guess this is more for the peer leaders. Is there things that we can do a bit better or differently to support you to feel prepared to deal with the complex changes of the world? So our programming, what we do, you have your goals and what you want to do. So where do you see us changing or adapting to make sure you're prepared and in this relatively short period of time that we work with you, maybe 4 to 6 years?
I can answer that question, I guess, based on my personal experience with the colleges. So first off, thank you for that question. And I want to get started by saying that Calumet and Stong, in my opinion, already do a great job in terms of, providing a lot of the support in terms of personal and professional development, the soft skills that we really talk about, which are getting more and more important as we progress in the world that we're at now, through all the different initiatives, anywhere from like peer mentoring, peer tutoring, the opportunity to grow and take on different roles within the colleges, the different events. I think the colleges already do a great job in terms of that. I guess what we can continue exploring and continue working upon is making more active effort to stay connected with the alumni, which was a comment that was mentioned earlier as well in terms of some of our initiatives, because alumni have been students in our shoes. They've had that thought of one day proceeding with their professional careers, and so I guess like they would be able to connect with undergrad students in terms of all the doubts and all the concerns that they may have. So that would be one suggestion from my end in terms of also expanding the mentorship aspect that we have here at the colleges. But again, just to say it again, I think that the colleges are already doing an amazing job. I personally am definitely not the department that joined the Coursera program 2 years ago. This is definitely a much more upgraded, better version of that. So I do really appreciate the opportunity to have partaken in many opportunities and have worked with many amazing staff, peer leaders, students, and faculty members.
I guess I can answer Janine's question. So as a work study student that just recently joined not too long ago, I realized that, yeah, the colleges definitely provide you a lot of support when, interacting with different people. as well as, especially since I in first year, during that transition between the pandemic and coming straight out of high school, just throughout that pandemic phase, which was really weird, I definitely saw that, yeah, the colleges had so much support with the transition with that. The course rep programs were definitely amazing. And yeah, continuing to grow with that was just very great. If anybody else has anything to say with Janine's question, you are free to go and say that. Okay, well, that wraps up the question and answer portion. And thank you for everyone for their questions and answers. I would like to invite Dr. Hamadeh and Dr. Rawana to share their final thoughts.
Thank you, Emery. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for attending and the wonderful questions and the wonderful sharing of experiences and ideas. Janine, would you like to say something before we move into our slides?
Sure. I can just very briefly, thank you everybody for being so candid and sharing your experiences and highlighting our successes and things that we can do differently. I think on a personal note, I think one of the greatest gifts the colleges have given me is coming back to personal connections. So what I mean by that is that when you're trained to be a clinical psychologist, which I spent many years training, you work a lot one-on-one. And by the end of my degree, I was a little bit tired of that. I thought, you know what, I really can't sit and listen one-on-one to people for 10 hours a day, to be honest. So that's what led me to academics. And for most researchers, that's what you enjoy. You enjoy making a change at either a policy level or at a group level, but it's not usually out of one-on-one. It's usually doing research, but the bigger the sample size, the better it is. And in the past 6 years, I've come back to the one-on-one. And I think for me, that's been the most meaningful thing that I've taken away, is that the value of, yes, it's that balance of you're doing projects for large numbers of students, and there are 12,000 students. But I think what's unique about our team is that we're so invested on the personal connections with students and each other. So it's not uncommon to get an email saying, you know, is this student okay? Can we support them? Does this person need something extra? It's really nice for people to mention individually our staff names and mention the student president names. And I think it's amazing that we've kept these connections during the pandemic. And imagine if we were in person, like I know when you're back in person, you just get so much value of that relationship more so than on Zoom. But for me, that's been a personal takeaway, is the value of finding that balance, because even when you teach, you're teaching classes of 200 or 500, and it's hard to maintain that personal connection. But I do encourage, and especially in these days of social media, that we continue looking for those opportunities to build those personal connections and support people. And sometimes it takes more time and more energy, more effort, but the value is immense. So that's just my own personal reflection. I'll pass it to you, Mazen, if you want to add anything about that. And then we can go into our closing remarks.
Janine, this is wonderful. What you shared is wonderful. I'm gonna I won't take too long, maybe hopefully not more than 30 seconds to maybe 50 seconds. I've always considered that my motto or my strongest value is it's not about me. It is never about me. And when I joined the colleges back in 2010, I realized that's exactly the value of people and peer leaders and staff and faculty who are really engaged in the college community. And I cannot stress it enough or emphasize enough how this value is embodied by everyone in Calumet and Stong Colleges. It is inspiring, it is motivating. And I, for one, has always been motivated to work harder, to think in a more creative way, to do more than by our students. And that is something that I feel very proud of. And I am privileged to have shared this experience with hundreds of amazing and wonderful peer leaders and a wonderful Calumet and Stong Colleges team who have really gone above and beyond their call of duty. And also we have many partners, alum and fellows and faculty members. Some of them are actually on this particular, in this particular session. We have these people, wonderful people who look beyond themselves and want to contribute. And I hope this particular value to never accept the status quo, and it's never about us, but it's about the community. I hope these values always keep leading us through the path of stronger and more deeper and meaningful experiences for our students through our programs. I cannot say enough how privileged I am and how humbled I am, but I think I've done more than a minute now. So let's go on to our slides. Jeannie and I wanted to just give you a brief cross-section of where we are today. We don't want to go through every single program, but this is only a highlight of where we are. As you can see, we have many programs and initiatives and events that are in collaboration with student clubs and students and peer leaders and partners and alum and fellows and partners across York and outside of York. And these, whether they are to support orientation and transition, academic support programs, leadership and professional development, or community building and development. If you can go on to the next slide, please. There is one slide that I would love to actually provide. I'm gonna try to share my screen because I think it's time we to show you where we're aiming for the next 5 years. I'll pass it on to Janine to close this particular session and also to talk a little bit about this particular strategic plan. Thank you.
Your volume went a bit low, but I think what you were saying is to go over the strat plan a little bit. So we're gonna, as we wrap up, I again want to extend a special thanks to all of our panelists. Thank you very much for taking the time. It's been lovely to hear from you. Thank the audience for participating, as well as Agatha and April for their leadership in planning today's event. And I think I saw Rob come in. So Rob is often behind the scenes in these events, but at the forefront of keeping the colleges running coherently and supporting all of us. So thanks to Rob as well. So this is just as a wrap up now. So this is where we are heading for the next 5 years. So we did a strat plan for 2020 to 2025. And this was done in community consultation with not only the Faculty of Health, Calumet and Stong, but also the broader university and our community partners. And we've kept a very similar vision and mission and values, slight differences in that we now, although we did focus on these things, are more at the forefront in terms of fostering equity, diversity, and inclusion, highlighting well-being more throughout our strat plan, and continue to work on collaborative academic support, leadership development, and recognizing the achievement of all of our peer leaders. So we do have, yes, paid work study positions, but we do aim to have more and more awards for students. We just adjudicated our bursaries for students to ensure that they're being compensated for their time in various ways, but as well supporting them in their careers. And I think we heard very clearly how we can expand or expanding the priority of working with alumni. I could hope to see that in the next 5 years as well. So I won't go through all the different areas, but I encourage you to take a glance now at the different areas. And the one that's been a new priority area. It was a priority before, but not highlighted individually, was promoting equity, diversity, inclusion, and citizenship. And I heard that from Bree today and other people, that the importance of doing that. And I think for the next 5 years, you'll see some more, hopefully huge growth in those areas. I think in our first 5 years, as we were building our programs, we wanted to make sure that our program was accessible to lots of students. Now we're seeing the need to maybe drill down into specific groups of students, which is why you see Indigenous Circle. We'll consciously support Black students in psychology, work centrally with the EDI and anti-Black racism, Indigenous frameworks on campus. So being more aware of those frameworks and how we can incorporate them, including the SDG goals. And I think everything else there is self-explanatory. So I'll pass it back to Emery to wrap up. But again, a special thanks to everybody for joining us today, and look forward to continue working together in the colleges.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Hamadeh and Dr. Rawana. I hope you all enjoyed today's bold ideas, disrupting the status quo, reimagining student leadership. In the spirit of continuous improvement, we would like to hear your thoughts on the event. Please complete the short survey to help us continue to offer events which meet your needs. You can find the link to the survey in the chat box. We'd really appreciate it if you could stay back for a couple of minutes, and I'll pass the mic to Abdul.
Before everybody logs off for the evening, we wanted to take a moment to recognize both Mazen and Janine for their invaluable contributions to the Calumet and Stong Colleges community. And as you can see from this image, that they joined us both when they were both younger and had less gray hair. I'm just kidding. But as they're transitioning to new roles, Associate Dean for Students and new mom, with the same enthusiasm, optimism, and commitment to student success as when they first joined the colleges in 2015.
Mazen is not going too far. He's just going southwest of the Stong building. And thank you to Rob for letting me know, because I didn't have my compass with me. So at first I put north, and, and Rob's like, no, he's going southeast. It's important to recognize this milestone and an important transition for him. When Mazen joined Stong College in 2015, we quickly realized that Mazen was going to make a positive difference within the Faculty of Health's 2 colleges. He mobilized individuals, students, student organizations to really ensure programs are reflective of student needs. Peer leaders were and continue to be an integral fabric of the colleges as they're engaged in aspects of governance, employment, and leadership. He not only embodies the value of being student-centric, but he challenges students and organizations to strive for excellence and really to reach beyond their perceived potential. At the core, he is an educator with a deep sense of responsibility for his students and organizations that he leads. Thank you for all your contributions, Mazen, and best of luck in your role as Associate Dean for Students. And we're just over the pond in case you need saving.
And Janine has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to ensuring students are successful and have a positive and enriching experience while studying at York. As Janine transitions to motherhood in the short term and Associate Dean for Students in the long term, we want to thank her for all of her contributions. The Kudo board here that Agata is sharing, that many of those that are here today contributed to, captures how invaluable her leadership has been over the years. Janine's ability to listen with care, encourage and appreciate differing perspectives, build people up by challenging and supporting them, and most importantly, taking a human and empathetic approach. We are rooting for you, Janine, and wishing you nothing but the best for you and your family as you embark on this new chapter, both personally and professionally.
Thank you, everybody. That's very kind. It's very challenging to leave. I know it's a good reason, but I'm leaving. But
we're not done.
We're not done. So Mazen and Janine do not sit on the sidelines cheerleading. They work behind the scenes tirelessly to ensure students and colleagues have the resources needed to fulfill their vision. Helping students succeed is not a theoretical concept, email signature, nor mantra. Their level of support is second to none, and helping students succeed is a way of life. Thank you both, Mazen and Janine. And this concludes our surprise ceremony, and we open the floor to anyone else who would like to share.
I'm going to add some more just because I think from a student perspective, when I first kind of got involved in the colleges, my initial perspective was, how can I get the most amount of experiences on my resume without doing the least amount of work? And then eventually I got involved with mentoring and tutoring within the colleges. And I'm like, wait a second, this is actually, pretty interesting. There's impact on the community. There's some worthwhile stuff here that I should actually commit to without just, lazily, putting it onto my resume and, hoping for the best. And I think that's kind of how I got involved within the colleges. And as I worked with UPSA, I got to know a bit more about Janine. And I still remember the first meeting, I came in like wearing shorts and like slippers in the summer. I was taking it very easy. It's my last year. And I remember we were talking something about, getting involved with our, I was actually talking about getting a thesis supervisor. And this was super late in the term. This was like July or August. And generally you would want to have it, May or April. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm looking for a thesis supervisor. And just nonchalantly. And I remember Janine potentially, she mentioned that, hey, this could actually be a pretty good idea. And then I'm just like randomly, I was like, whoa, really? Because at that point, I didn't even start looking. I'm like, yeah, I'll eventually find something in September, October. And then I remember Janine, like, she's just like, oh, that seems a great idea. Why don't you send me an email? I'm like, what? And I was surprised when I sent that email. And then from then on, I just got involved and here we are. So I'd like to thank Janine, especially, I remember, for giving me that opportunity. I learned a lot over the past couple of years as a student. And then I got a reality check when I got into the colleges and working with the heads, and I realized I wasn't as good, as smart, or great as I thought I was. And then I'm like, oh crap, I have a lot to learn. And I think with the colleges, I learned quite a bit, and specifically from Mazen, I think the the attention to detail, and I think Kay and if Rukata's still here, can perhaps attest to that. Whenever we're going through slides or content, I can notice a space that's out of place on a PowerPoint presentation, or a period or grammar error, and I would always tune that to Mazen for all the skills that I've learned one-on-one specifically. And I'm sure they've had to go through a lot of trials and errors working with me and frustrations. But I'd like to share those experiences, and I think those are something. Both things that I will always value.
I gotta go soon, so I just quickly wanted to say before I left, Mazen and Janine, congratulations. And so much, like most of my success till date has been because of the support I've gotten from you both, the mentorship, the advice, everything. And I've just been so lucky to have you as the college heads during my time. And I wish you all the best in your new roles. I'll see you all now, but thank you so much for having me on this panel.
I just wanted to say congratulations, Mazen and Janine. I always felt like you guys were my parents. It just felt like one big family. And like anytime I was down, like whenever we were working together, you were always there for me. Even like during the highs, it was always like we were always together. Especially because of the financial wellness project too, meeting like every week. It was just so much fun, and I learned so much from the both of you. And I loved the dynamic between the both of you as well. Like Janine, you were more like laid back, relaxed. Mazen, you're like, okay, no, focus, this, that. And it was so much fun though. Like I really had a great time. But yeah, congratulations to the both of you. And thank you for making my experience at your work just so memorable.
Absolutely. Just to quickly add on, I know I'm one of the people with the youngest careers in terms of my work with Calumet and Stong Colleges, but forever remember my first interaction with Mazen and Janine, which was in an FELT session actually led by Simi as one of the leadership coaches at the time. And I remember Mazen and I actually had like a small discussion about like Rumi's poetry, and that was like the first time that, you know, I felt really connected in the group that I was at, and I absolutely loved the dynamic between Janine and Mazen as well. And you know, it was really a turning point for me in terms of getting involved and really exploring my own potentials. And I definitely continue to surprise myself, and you know, in terms of the skills that I've had that I can work with, and none of this would have been possible without the support from Mazen, Janine. Also, shout out to Bailey, Agatha, and everyone. So yeah, congratulations on your new roles, Mazen and Janine. We definitely wish we did have clones from you so that we can, you know, continue having you by our sides. But definitely wish you the best of luck, and looking forward to hopefully continuing to work with you in different contexts.
I'll jump in because Mazen and Janine's wait times have been getting longer as the years have gone on. So I think if Janine or Mazen want to jump in as we begin to wrap up, but certainly I'm really grateful for both of your leadership, and certainly the dynamics that have been mentioned. It's been really fun to witness the difference. I wouldn't say yin and yang, but I think you've complemented each other really nicely in terms of moving initiatives and projects forward. So I know I yelled at Janine before for butting in. It was the only time I yelled at her. No, she's no longer my boss, so now I can yell.
I don't think I was ever your boss, Agatha. Very briefly, thank you very much. It's your heartfelt comments are very appreciated and always memorable. I think I'm a bit of denial. I don't think I'm actually leaving, so I guess I am. But you know, I will always be a member of Calumet and Stong. So whether I'm at home for a year or I'm back on campus, I think I don't see this as an ending, but more of a shifting to a different role for a bit and then coming back on campus. And I hope to be engaged with Calumet and Stong. And I'm always around. Agatha keeps on telling me, no, you need to take your time and do this. But I can assure you, I don't feel like I'm going very far, because you're such a lovely community to work with. Why would I go far, right? So this has definitely been a home on campus for me. So I am around. I'm still a member of Calumet and Stong, and I will work whoever our incoming head is going to be and support them and give them their space. But I will always see myself as kind of a subhead, supporting and doing what I can do. A special thanks to Mazen. It's been lovely to work with him. I've learned a lot, and it's given me opportunities to reflect and learn and be comfortable in an administrative role, which can be challenging on campus, but to come out more confident in my decisions and understand a lot more about the university, not just student success, but how it runs, et cetera, through everybody that I work with here. And thank you to all the students. I really appreciate your comments. And I feel the same for you. And it's lovely just to see you're all moving on and doing the things that you're doing. And I agree with Mazen. I think when we did our Ikigais, I feel like I was a connector and a facilitator. So it isn't really, I agree with Mazen, it's not about us, but just facilitating those connections and facilitating the talent that we have. And if you do it, I think you'll just be perfect without us as well. You'll continue doing what you're doing. So thanks again. This is a lovely surprise.
You all have been so eloquent, and this puts more pressure on me. I do not enjoy the spotlight, but I'll try to be as eloquent, well, maybe a little eloquent, to make myself clear. My experience in the last 6 years with all of you, and also with many of you that have come before you and moved on, and that includes of course Rusa and Nicole and wow, I just blanked out. Sorry,
Subra.
This is it, and Subra. and of course, the many peer leaders, the hundreds of peer leaders who have joined Calumet and Stong Colleges and left their impact. And I'm always reminded of my time at university, and I realize that what we have and what I'm experiencing is perhaps something which is so unique to York and so unique to Calumet and Stong Colleges, and these particular years, that it does not fail me how privileged I am to be interacting and having this back and forth with every one of you and the others. And it's a more of a career experience. It's a spiritual experience and the mental experience and physical experience, because it's an experience that allows me to absorb from all of you and from others, and to process and then try to add value as we move forward. And sometimes, and I accepted a long time ago that I perhaps may not be able to add value, but at least I learn from what all of you and many of you and those who aren't here have contributed and have and the impact they've left. So for me, it's such a strong experience. It's been, and it's still a strong experience because I'm still involved, and I'll be still collaborating with all of you in different ways and in the same ways sometimes, and I'll be back again after this year and a bit. And I'm looking forward to working with you, because I think the ideas that came out in the last 6 years could yet be further explored on a larger scale. And I'm trying to take all these wonderful ideas, which most of them were based on student feedback and student needs, to see how we as a team, as a huge team, Faculty of Health, can move forward. But all this is due to the experience that I've had and to the growth, the personal growth. And Janine, you've been a wonderful partner. I mean, it's seldom that we find a partner who just, you tend to know what they're thinking and you can finish their sentences and they finish yours. We're like Jekyll and Jekyll sometimes. It is funny, and actually the pictures that these wonderful pictures actually reflect that nice interaction and dynamic. And I thank you for your support, all of you. Thanks.
And just special thanks to Emery and Parmin for today's, for leading us today. Amazing job, Emery and Parmin. Big round of applause.